Welcome to the broadcast, everybody. I hope you're enjoying your Sunday. I hope I managed to get this video out in time because I'm recording it really rather late after a lovely, delicious Sunday roast. The King and Queen looked absolutely gorgeous at Craithie Kirk this morning for the Sunday service. The elegant Queen was in blue and green, and King Cosy Socks was wearing muted, earthy tones. Very handsome. There were so many comments from those of you with insight into the death of a parent after the last broadcast, and I want to thank you so very much for the very touching comments, so many of them, and it's really quite sobering to learn how many of you suffered the experience of the death of a parent at an early age, although I suppose there is perhaps some sort of bittersweet comfort to take in the fact that you're not alone with that, and also one or two of you who learned of the death of your child, which is almost too overwhelming to consider really, but I do thank you very much for leaving those comments because it gave insight into the reaction of both the parent and the child, because we've been talking about did or didn't Charles offer Harry a hug when he told Diana was dead, when he told him about Diana. I get emotional just thinking about it, my dear, so you have to forgive me. I'm not going to dwell on it today. But I wanted to say that the variety in the responses has been very informative and educational for me, and that's what I want to thank you for sharing that, because it can't always be easy. Thank you for that. One of you who experienced the death of a son told me that because there was so much shock, that hugging and embracing was not in the forefront of one's mind. And there are so many different possibilities when it comes to Charles and Harry, but there is also the possibility you must consider that J.R. Moehringer, in fact it's more than a possibility, isn't it, that J.R. Moehringer, the ghost writer, was wringing out as much illicit sympathy for Harry as he felt that he was able to do legally. So he was certainly milking that cow. And at the end of the day, Harry signed it off. But we all know that there's more to that recollection. But I'm going to go fairly easy on Harry today because it's his birthday, isn't it? He's joining the naughty 40s club. I'm not going to be quite so easy on his spouse coming up. Not quite so easy. But on Harry, we wish him many happy returns, don't we, my dears? This is not a channel for abject hatred. I've always made that very clear, and I'll continue to do so because I want to put off or inspire those who only have hatred for Harry and Meghan. I don't hate them, I hate what they did, and I hate their behaviour, and I offer a robust defence of monarchy and this kingdom. But I don't hate Harry, I wish him well, I just wish that he would stop betraying everybody around him and this kingdom. Prince Henry Charles, Albert David. The royal family wished him a happy birthday today, as you might have seen on social media. Well, I'm told that the king doesn't get involved at all with matters of social media and the Facebooking and the ticking and the tocking and the Xing. You know, he doesn't get involved with these sort of trivialities. He's got 15 realms to take care of, my dears. You know, he's a little bit busy. He's got other things to tend to, including the mushrooms at Highgrove. So don't get the impression that he is standing over some computer technician saying, oh, do remember to wish Harry a happy birthday, my dear, do remember, make sure we get that up there nice and early. No. As Harry himself told us, the king doesn't actually read the newspapers or the press, so do you really think he's going to be worrying about Facebook, my dear? He is a king. He is a king. So some people don't understand this. They really think that the king and the queen are standing over the shoulder of all the social media technicians, He will have sent his personal tidings to Harry, that's for sure. The Prince and Princess of Wales re-X'd, I suppose you could see. What is it instead of retweeting these days? Re-Xing? Amplifying? I don't know, but they amplified the message. And it's all vulgar. I understand why they're doing it. They want to try and avert any sort of storm in a tabloid teacup. But I don't approve. Quit the nonsense, as I've always said. Any reference to them on the website or social media should go. If he can't be half in and half out, as the late Queen made very clear, as did Charles and William, then why exactly is his little pinky still in there? And I'm not referring to his frostbitten todger on this occasion. I'm talking about his little Joe. This was the first social media post that's been dedicated to the Duke since 2021, and I believe that that is because 40 is a significant number that's been reached, and they don't want to upset the apple cart. I say, leave the apple cart exactly where it is, upset and overturned, and left to rot. So, let's get on to some juicy stuff, shall we, my dears? We'll begin with a question or comment from Cooper Diane Bob, who said, do you read the Hollywood Reporter takedown of those two in California? They seem to confirm everything you've been saying all along, that she's hard to work for, she's cruel and mean, and made several grown men cry. Well, I don't think that those were my words, actually, my dear, but I know what you're hedging at. This was all sparked by the resignation of their third chief of staff. And this is in reference to an article that appeared in the Hollywood Reporter. Now, American fruits can tell me about this. I don't know about the Hollywood Reporter, but I am told that it is a respected publication with a lean to the left, actually. So not especially a publication that you would think might come after the Harkles. But in this rambling reporter column, that's exactly what it's done. Without apology and without fear of being sued for libel by the look of it. For balance, I will mention that Bryony Gordon, on the other hand, who is acquainted with the Harkles and with the Waleses personally, provided another insight into their private friendship, and as she has said on many occasions, because she is a great defender of the Harkles, she finds them to be natural, caring and down to earth, and she's hung out with them a lot, both here and in Montecito. She is quite trusted for a reporter by the Harkles these days, but then you've got to follow the money, haven't you, my dear? If that's buttering her bread, of course she's got to say that, but for balance and fairness, I feel that it's good to put this in there. There are many people who adore Harry and Meghan if they've seen certain sides of them, but remember, wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go, there you are. So it doesn't matter where Meghan toddles, she'll still be there, because the mirror has two faces. Or more faces if you're at a tawdry circus or some sort of creepy funfair cabaret with clowns, halls of mirrors and a bearded lady. Why Hollywood keeps quitting on Harry and Meghan has caused quite the stir, with many people making the point that evidently accusations of diva behaviour from Meghan were not actually manufactured by the palace, which was always that accusation, wasn't it, my dear? If that's the case, then why are we seeing it now in America? In the United States, not the United Kingdom, when they wanted to blame everything and put it on the doorstep of the palace and the courtiers and the cruel kingdom. Now are they going to start on your shores, our Yankee friends? He's got a Yankee Doodle sweetheart, she's his Yankee Doodle joy. Harry Sussex came to London just to ride the pony, but he's a Yankee Doodle boy, or so he thinks. There's only one pony that's going to be ridden in this kingdom, and that is the Prince of Wales. More than enough for a stallion. He's got more pony going on than any steed of the Montecito polo grounds. Do you hear me, boy? Do you hear me? And this article mentions all the comings and goings of recent staff at the Harkles, and they are now terming this an extension of the Sussex Survivors Club, which we've heard about in the kingdom for years. As you know, there's been mass exoduses, exodi. You know, they've gone. Josh Kettler, Toya Holness, Christy Wiles Shearmer, haven't got my glasses on, Samantha Cohen, Kelly Thomas Morgan, this endless reel of unusual names. A source close to the couple said she belittles people. Now this is a source they have quoted, the Hollywood Reporter. She belittles people, she doesn't take advice. They're both poor decision makers. They change their minds frequently. Harry is a very charming person, no airs at all, but he's very much an enabler, and she's terrible. That was my favourite bit. And it goes on to mention the investigation in 2018, the investigation into her bullying behaviour, that in Meghan's view was a calculated smear campaign. And it says that stateside she has earned the moniker Duchess Difficult. Now, perhaps this is what the commenter was referring to, my dears, because if you cast your minds back a few months to early June, that is when I furnished you with all the whispers that you are now hearing. I furnished you with whispers from the set of Meghan's new show. What I had been hearing surrounding the production team. And I told you everything you're being told now, but I told you the actual nickname that she's earned. It is not Duchess Difficult or whatever they're saying. I mean, if you really think about it, that doesn't really trip off the tongue in a sort of colloquial way, does it? Oh, look, there's Duchess Difficult. You might say there's the Difficult Duchess, but I believe this is actually a bit of a fabrication. I told you the actual name that was going around, and it was similar, but better, and not quite. It's Double Dutch. You remember that? That's what they've been calling her because of her two-facedness and her duplicity. The mirror has two faces. Double Dutch. One source said she's absolutely relentless. She marches around like a dictator in high heels, fuming and barking orders. I've watched her reduce grown men to tears. Woo-hoo! I mean, that's quite a risk to take. It could be considered libelous if it was untrue or fabricated. That a known source, and some have said that they've been speaking to up to 12 different sources, and I must make clear for legal reasons, everything I'm discussing here is what the Hollywood Reporter is telling us is true, not what I'm telling you is true. I will make that point. As for her leaving grown men in tears, well, grow a pair of balls. I'll put it more delicately. Grow a pair of Jacobs, my dear. Grow some Jacobs. Come on. She might be terrifying. She might be all this, that, and the 10th. But, you know, if grown men... Well, let's face it, they're the kind of grown men that the Harkles would employ, weren't they? Probably woke snowflakes. You know, very sensitive and triggered by all and sundry and everything under the sun. Quivering, deferential. Who else would apply for a job with them? So, you know, I get why they're reduced to tears. But grow some Jacobs, and they probably might have to grow some Jacobs if they are of indeterminate gender. But that's 2024 for you. Their unsparing portrait of her is in marked contrast with the kinder, gentler image Markle has been painting of herself. Ha! Surprise, surprise. Well, Harry and Meghan's current spokesman declined to comment. Well, someone who's been showing them how brotherly affection should be played out is Jimmy Middleton, because James's serialisation of Meet Ella, the dog who saved my life, is going to be published on September the 26th. And there is a segment that was released today by the Mail, The Moment I Knew William Was Right for Catherine. And he speaks about the time in November 2010 when he and his two sisters, Pippa and Catherine, go for a walk to their local pub just outside of Bucklebury. And he says, we sit in a corner, chattering quietly. Catherine whispers the news and says it will become public in the next day or so. Pippa and I want to be visibly excited, but we have to tamp down our emotions so no one suspects a thing. How very exciting. Can you imagine that, my dears, to be told in the village pub that your sister is about to seal her destiny as a future queen of this land? You know, a middle class, middle upper class commoner telling you this news. Amazing. I thought how lucky William was to be marrying my capable, down-to-earth big sister, and I felt absolutely reassured that they were in love. It was beautiful to see how he brought out her confidence. She'd blossomed. I knew he'd look after her, and he does to this day. Well, isn't that a contrast to spare, and doesn't it throw a spotlight into what brotherly love really is, and what familial loyalty really is? I'm sure that Jimmy Middleton has the same disagreements and disparagements with his family as we all do. Even those of us from close, loving, affectionate families, most of us have some dysfunction here and dysfunction there at some point throughout our journey, don't we, my dears? If you don't, good for you and bully for you. But most of us do. And Jimmy Middleton will have done. But you do not parade that sort of dirty linen in public under any circumstances. Or perhaps I should say, at least not for such petty trivialities. You'll never find William being so petty. And he made a surprise visit to a helicopter base, attending in a private capacity and showing support for London Air Ambulance at the official opening of the new Airbus helicopters headquarters at Oxford Airport. And he was very casually dressed on this occasion in a blue jumper and chatted with pilots and crew alike. A question from M. Lee B, who says, if you are happy to tell us, River, when did you begin to dress as yourself? If I am being too forwards, I apologise. Not at all, my dear. I'm sure I've broached this issue before in broadcast, but sometimes it goes a couple of years unanswered, so it's nothing new that I'm telling you. But when you say, when did I learn to dress as myself? Well, I do not dress like this in the day-to-day. I'm sorry if it disappoints some of you. There are a few who do think that I waltz around in this sort of get-up all the time. I dress up specifically for the broadcasts. I adore the dressing up box of life. Now, that is something that's always been natural to me. From as young as I can possibly remember, there's always been a dress-up box busting at the seams, my dear, and I trot around in all my mother's and grandmother's finery. Never father's. Always the ladies. Wonderful silk gowns and veils and bits of old lingerie. My dear, some things never change. It is the creative challenge that I actually really enjoy, and it wouldn't be the same for me if I wasn't able to do it for these broadcasts. To bring a new little twist and flavour and look for you in each broadcast. I enjoy doing it, and it ties in so well with Tip Jar Corner, because I'm able to put your tips towards my charity shop finds, and it benefits the broadcast, it benefits the charity shop, and then eventually everything gets redonated back to the charity shop. So it has that wonderful harmony, if you like. I do have the occasional flamboyant moment in my real life, of course, at parties and events, high octane moments, of course I do. So I'm not saying that I will never give it the old razzle dazzle in that effect. But on the daily basis, I just wear skinny jeans, brogue boots, a t-shirt in grey or black. It's my uniform. That's it. Very sober, isn't it? Very sober, not very tantalising. And at this time of year, I start wearing a cashmere knit around the shoulders until the spring when it gets a bit warmer. But that's it on the daily for me. Usually in the evening, though, I will wear all black from the neck down, maybe a diamond here or two, but usually all black. I don't really feel me unless I'm wearing nice sort of form-fitting skinny jeans, if you will. I don't really like the term skinny, but they need to be form-fitting. And I like a little heel. I do like to trot around on a heel. An evening isn't the same if I'm not. I've always had an androgynous look, and I've always worn, I suppose you could say, androgynous elements from here and there. But when it comes to makeup, although I'm not scared of it and having fun with it, I'm not one to slap on a great deal of it. It will usually be mascara for the evening, and I do love eyeliner. Usually the inner rim of the eye, not so much over the top as I do here on the broadcast. But, just a very smudged, very sort of Helena Christensen, along that line, Katie Moss, this sort of thing. I don't like any makeup to show on the skin or on the face. So none of that sort of drag business, which has become fashionable for men and women over the last few years. Blame the Kardashians and the like. Well, these things come in and out of fashion, don't they? I mean, they used to slap it all on very heavy in the 60s, didn't they? And then, of course, big, bold colours in the 80s. 90s and early 2000s, I think, was more to my personal taste. That sort of look, very sort of muted, but with a few pops around the eyes. So I will just a bit of eye makeup, sometimes, and a slick of gloss. But I keep it rather natural, my dear. I don't need it, to be honest with you. I've got fabulous bone structure. So my face does the talking. And I learnt that I don't actually, although I've got a real hanger body, being tall and slim, I look much better when I keep the clothing really rather simple. And as I say, in the evening, I like to wear black. I always feel that looks better than anything that shorter people can get away with more. I think shorter people can, I know they're not models, but they can get away with more. And I find that they can experiment more with clothes and cut and lines and look better and not look so awkward as taller people do. So we all have advantages and disadvantages, don't we, my dear? And it's just about accentuating the positive and eliminating the negative. So in answer to your question, I've always dressed as myself, really, my dear. I suppose one got a little bit braver with time, but I was fairly brave pretty early on, meaning if I wanted to dress up, I would dress up. And of course, the gentlemen love us in a bit of lingerie, don't they, ladies? So who would we be to deprive them of it? The Princess Royal met some hard-working pups at the International Sheepdog Trials in Lanarkshire. Founded in 1906, the Princess Royal is patron of the Sheepdog Society, which registers 6,000 border collies on behalf of its members. The society organises 5 main trials each year within the UK and Ireland, and one of the dogs was disqualified for biting a sheep. Foul play, I call foul play. Well, goodwill was restored with a seasonal tour of the stalls. Alexandra says, "Hey Reddit, it's so cool to hear you weren't into the gay scene. I too went to gay clubs in my early 20s, but I've never been into the gay scene as well. I love to interact with all people. I always found the gay scene talk only about gay things, especially sexual orientation. I am proud of who I am, but my sexuality is just a small fraction of who I am, and I don't enjoy speaking about it. I'm more interested in other things in life." Well, thank you for that, my dear. And it's nice to hear from a lesbian. Most of my comments come in, I guess, from what is similar to my own friendship group, which is straight ladies. And I love every single one of them, and I love the comments they leave me. But for variety, it's always nice to hear from lesbians, from gays. Make yourselves known, my dear, and of course the occasional straight bloke. Speak up. I get lots of comments from wives saying, "Oh, you're my husband's guilty pleasure." He's always looking over my shoulder saying, "What's River up to? What's going on?" And they take a little sneaky peek, my dear. But, make yourself known in the comment section, my dear, for variety's sake. The other creatures of the night, the lesbians, the gays, the straight blokes. What else is there out there? Trans. Make yourself known, all the different variety. Well, I should pad out what you said about me not being into the gay scene. You're correct, I'm not into the gay scene. But I will pad it out by saying that the first club that I frequented regularly over a period of about a year, I suppose, a year to 2 years, when I was, I suppose, 17, maybe just 17, that was a gay club with a very sort of local feel, and it was rather old school, fabulously so, with lots of old school queens there, which is sorely missed these days, my dear. But then nightclubs and bars and pubs are all sorely missed, because in the wake of the smoking ban and for various other reasons, hundreds and thousands of them have closed over the last few years and continue to do so. It doesn't bear thinking about what we've lost, really, so quickly, because of course we lose all of these things over time naturally, but so quickly. I think it's a travesty. Lost so much community, and people do all their dating and mating and interacting and socialising online now anyway, over apps, don't they? But that era and that club, was absolutely fantastic. A deep thrill, truly fantastic. There was a corner in that club, because of course you had all the gays and lesbians, but it was called Dyke Corner, where all the dykes used to hang out, using their own terminology. People weren't so precious. So the women had their own sort of space, and then would come and mingle with the rest of us when they felt like doing it, my dears. But no, I had more in common really with what you might term the fag hags or the fruit flies, my dear. And of course I've got a ton of gay chums and colleagues and associates, but I was never part of a clique that we all can witness on the gay scene, you know. One becomes conscious of these sort of cliques and communities, never part of all that. I've never been one for communities, so I don't like all this letters community talk, although there was once a need for it. That's why I never use the word communities to describe this channel. Of course, I accept that in a certain way, if you believe in online communities, then I use the word basketeers because I think that's a lot more fun. I'm very suspicious of communities. I don't like them. You can think of this as a community if you want, but I'm not into all that bull. I don't pee on your leg and tell you it's raining. I see you as a collection of individuals, some who I would adore, some who I would rather not associate with, and some somewhere in the middle. I'm sure most of you I get on very well with, but I'm not going to pretend that YouTube channels are something that they're not. People do that and they indulge the parasocial, which I think is a mistake, and I go out of my way to try to avoid. Like you, Alexandra, my dear, rather like you, I never had a hankering towards hanging out on that particular scene, but I am extremely glad that that scene at least was available for those who enjoyed it. I like the fact that it is an option that people get to pick and choose. For you, you avoided it because you felt that there were other things in life that you were more interested in. For me, I think it was just the simple fact that I wanted to hang around with those whose company I enjoyed the most. For the most part, that is just the gals and the ladies who I like to trot down to the clubs and the discos with. And most of those gals, rather like me, just happen to prefer a bit of cock. Joni Clairette said, I really have to keep eating my hat. King Charles has changed to such a loving person. I used to despise KC because of Lady Diana. I've come to love and respect King Charles, especially more now since Madam Soho Markle and his nitwit of a son Harry telling lies about the fam. I loved Queen Elizabeth. I am from South Africa and very protective of the monarchy, especially over Prince William and Princess Catherine and their children. I had to swallow my tears when I saw the hug. King Charles is not the pompous prick that everyone... Oh my dear, you South African fruits, you really cut to the chase, don't you? Oh, you wouldn't want to mess with a South African woman. Oh no. Ferocious. In a good way, most of the time. You don't want to mess with them, my dears. And I've been jawling with the best of them. I'll tell you all about it. King Charles is not the pompous prick that everyone has been saying about him. We all have dirty washing. I don't mind, dear, speak for yourself. I ask you. We might all have skeletons in the closet, but I thank you to keep your dirty washing to yourself. As we grow older, we become more mature and have to forgive ourselves from our past. Well, yes, my dear. You've done a reversey Percy on Charles, and this is the interesting and illuminating fact of Harry and Meghan's disparagements. All the reversey Percys we've seen haven't been spinning in their favour, because every disparagement from the Montecitans has done a backflip. Have you noticed? It's highlighted the virtues of the royal family and people like Charles when they've been trying to attack and prove the reverse. There's been a reversey Percy, and conversely, every virtue that the Harkles signal has shone a spotlight on their opportunistic, mercantile, self-aggrandizing sophistry. That's quite enough sophistry from me for now, isn't it, my dears? So I'll catch up with you next time for a juicy chit-chat. Leave me a fruity comment, and if you enjoyed my Sunday service, you can leave a penny in the cap of the tip jar. See you next time, my dears. Take care and toodle pip.